And with that, I'm going to begin introducing Jason Thomas while he begins bringing up his slides for the session. So Jason is a director, Azure specialist for healthcare, data, and AI at Microsoft. He's based in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's dedicated his 17-year career, including 6 years at Microsoft and 11 years as a data and AI consultant, to aiding his customers in their digital transformation using Azure cloud technology. And with that, Jason, we can see your screen coming through here. Go ahead and pop yourself off mute and take it away, my friend.
Awesome. Can you hear me fine,
Sure
Matt?
can.
And just to make sure, can you see my slides?
Got it.
Perfect, perfect. So hi, everyone. Welcome to my session. And I'm Jason Thomas, an Azure Data and AI Specialist, and I'm excited to talk to you regarding our Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform for Healthcare. So this is going to be, again, a casual session. So anytime you have questions, feel free to pause them. And I guess, one of our presenters would be reading out the questions, to me directly. Matt or anyone, just feel free to just interrupt me as and when the questions come. So with that, starting the session. So just to give an introduction, today's world is awash with ever-streaming data, from the devices we use to the applications we build and the interactions we have. Now, as we enter a new era defined by AI, this data is even more important. Collecting that data, directing it securely, reliably, and at scale for storage and processing, storing it, and then extracting value from it will continue to be enormously important. Challenges here will be continuing to handle scale in innovative ways, making new and growing data types that we now treat as blobs into first-class citizens in our data processing systems, and making it seamless to connect large-scale data assets to our high-ambition AI systems. Most of the times when I'm having a conversation about AI, I'm actually struck by the fact that, I would be having an exploratory conversation with the customer, and at the end, both of us realize that we might be talking about very different things. So for the sake of this session, we'll just define AI as IT systems that sense, comprehend, act, and learn, and intelligence demonstrated by software with the ability to depict or mimic human brain functions. And for AI to be integrated well into your system, right, you need to have a good handle on your data foundation. But most of the times we find out that, it's not that easy, right? I mean, there's a lot of barriers to get value from your data, let alone healthcare data. When it comes to healthcare, it becomes even more difficult. And why is that? One of the first reasons, data silos. I mean, there are all sorts of data coming in, stored across databases that power the applications or lifeblood of a company, data from sensors, devices, data sources from media and more. Just to give an example, I had an ACL surgery like a month ago. And when I tore my ACL, I went into the urgent care and they asked me a string of questions. And most of the times it's repetitive, right? I mean, it's like, what are the medications that you have been taking? Do you have any allergies and stuff like that? And to compound to the fact, I just had my annual like a week ago. And still, I'm being asked the same question again and again. That's because all those data, they are living in different systems and they don't talk to each other most of the times. And then we have incongruent data types, different kinds, right? Like when I went to the urgent care, they went for x-rays just to see if there's something wrong with my bones. They went for CT scans, trying to see if there's, my ACL is actually torn or whether it's a meniscus repair or something like that. And on top of that, they ran blood works. They also wrote a lot of information in the clinical notes, which is unstructured data. So all those different kind of data, and there's a complexity in bringing all those formats together in a way where companies can leverage, all those different data sources to derive insights that are richer than a single source. Then you have performance constraints. On-premises systems reach capacity. Customers have to make strategic decisions on how to scale and how to do it cost effectively. And then you have complexity of solutions as well as processes. Over time, companies, they adopt a lot of different kinds of products or solutions to solve a specific business need. And now they find that they have this diverse set of tools on premise and in the cloud, all with their unique tool sets and cost models. And since it's different tools, you need different skill sets to use them. And it becomes hard to scale up and scale these offerings for the whole company to take advantage of, and costing is no longer transparent. So many issues. And on top of this comes rising cost. Scaling up and adding hardware paying for all those multiple tool sets that have some overlapping capabilities, but lacking the scale or the ubiquity to do more than a purpose-driven task well, as well as hiring resources with specific skills, all of this adds up. And suddenly, companies looking to get ahead and maximize ROI with data are finding it challenging to harness it for transformation. So with all those barriers, how is Microsoft trying to help our customers? With, and that is where the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform comes into play. So just to quote Satya, with our Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform, we provide a complete data fabric from the operational data stores to the analytics engines to data governance so that you as a customer can spend more time creating value and less time integrating and managing your data estate. Our goal is to provide you with the most comprehensive end-to-end data platform so you don't have to wrestle with the complexities of building and operating cloud-scale data infrastructure yourself. And this modern analytics platform that we are talking about is going to be centered on the lakehouse approach. But before we get there, let me just give a brief overview of what's been happening so far or the evolution. So we've all had data warehouses. They have powered BI decisions for about 30 years, having evolved as a set of design guidelines for systems controlling the flow of data. Enterprise data warehouses optimize queries for BI reports, but can take minutes or even hours to generate results. And designed for data that's unlikely to change with high frequency, data warehouses seek to prevent conflicts between concurrently running queries. Many data warehouses rely on proprietary formats, which often limit support for machine learning. Powered by technological advances in data storage and driven by exponential increases in the types and volumes of data lakes have come into widespread use over the last decade. Data lakes store and process data cheaply and efficiently. And data lakes are often defined in opposition to data warehouses because data warehouse, they deliver clean structured data for BI analytics, while data lake permanently and cheaply stores data of any nature in any format. Many organizations use data lakes for data science and machine learning, but not for BI reporting due to its unvalidated nature. Now, by combining an optimized metadata layer with validated data stored in standard formats in cloud object storage, the data lakehouse allows data scientists and ML engineers to build models from the same data driving BI reports. And this is the concept that we are talking about. The data lakehouse replaces the current dependency on data lakes and data warehouses for modern data companies that desire open direct access to data stored in standard data formats. You have indexing protocols optimized for machine learning and data science, and low query latency and high reliability for BI and advanced analytics. And talking a little bit about this lakehouse architecture, right? How does this come into play? So you have all those different data sources, right? I mean, you have IoT devices, the different EHR systems, imaging, genomics data, CRM data, revenue cycle data, third-party data, all of this data that's flowing into your data lake. Now, it could either be in real time, in which case, you have the streaming use cases, or it could be in batch. And we have tools within the Azure platform for ingesting this data either in batch, which you can do with the Azure Data Factory, or you can use Azure Event Hub for getting the streaming data into Azure. Now, at the foundation of all of this is the Delta Lake, right? So you have this medallion kind of like structure where you have the bronze layer, which contains the unvalidated data. I mean, data in this layer typically maintains the raw state of your data source, and it is appended incrementally and grows over time. It can also be any combination of streaming and batch transactions. Now, retaining the full unprocessed history of each dataset in an efficient storage format provides the ability to recreate any state of a given data system. Now, while the bronze layer contains the entire data history in a nearly raw state, the silver layer represents a validated, enriched version of our data that can be trusted for downstream analytics. Then we have the gold layer. The gold data is often highly refined and aggregated, and it contains data that powers analytics, machine learning, and production applications. And updates to these tables are completed as part of regularly scheduled production workloads, which help control costs and allow service level agreements for data freshness to be established. So with that, we have the foundation for the Delta Lake. And on top of this, you would be able to attach any of our Azure technologies. So let's say you're doing data engineering. At that point, you could use our products like Azure Databricks for doing the data engineering, or you could easily spin up a Synapse Spark cluster and do your data engineering with that. Or if you want to do data science, ML, AI, you would be able to use Azure Machine Learning on top of it. Or if you have data warehousing kind of like scenarios, again, you would be able to use our Synapse data warehouse or Azure Databricks SQL warehouse on top of it. And you would be able to enrich all of this data with our AI services. I mean, everything that you have been hearing till now, right? On the first couple of sessions. I mean, you have your vision capabilities. So if you want to do any kind of OCR, ICR kind of capabilities, you have a form that you want to digitize, you can use our vision capabilities. Or you're maybe running a call center and you want to transcribe the speech to a text so that you can perform analytics on top of it. You have our speech APIs. You have language to do NLP and all those text analytics kind of work, decision models, and Azure OpenAI, which all of you are pretty interested in, right? And all of this you can bring under the purview of data governance, right? And that's why we have our Microsoft purview as well as the Unity catalog from Databricks. So you have multiple options for all of this. And at the end of this, you can expose all of this data in, or you can serve this data through Power BI for your reporting, or you could have build low code kind of like applications like using Power Apps, or you could even share this data to third party using your Azure data sharing capabilities. So all in all, this is what the Lakehouse architecture would, kind of like a generic architecture would look like in Azure. Now, with that said, we also have some specific healthcare IPs that we have on the data platform. The first one is the Synapse database templates. So database templates in Azure Synapse, they are industry-specific schema definitions that provide a quick method of creating a database known as a lake database that can accelerate building analytics-infused industry applications. They act as blueprints that provide common elements derived from best practices, government regulations, and the complex data and analytic needs of an industry-specific organization. So for healthcare, we have templates for providers, payers, R&D and clinical trials, genomics, pharmaceuticals, and all of those. So the next IP that we have is the Azure Health Data Services. This provides pipelines that help you manage protected health information data at scale. You would be able to ingest, standardize, and transform data with easy to deploy tools and connectors for device and unstructured data. You can expand discovery of insights by connecting to tools for visualizations, machine learning, and AI. And then we also have the Dataverse healthcare APIs. I mean, it's a full product offering from Microsoft Cloud for Healthcare, which enables you to interact with the Dataverse by using the FHIR standard. The APIs use the data integration toolkit map to transform the bundles between FHIR and Dataverse. And we have all of these products and we are enabling our customers using all of this. But at this point, we thought, how can we make it even more easier for our customers? How can our customers enable data-driven decisions at scale and integrate them into a big picture strategy? And that's where we came up with Microsoft Fabric. So what is Microsoft Fabric? So Microsoft Fabric provides a one-stop shop for data integration, data engineering, real-time analytics, data science, and BI needs without compromising the privacy and security of your data. By using Microsoft Fabric, you will enable teams to experience an end-to-end, highly integrated single solution that's easy to understand, onboard, create, and operate. With this solution, you will no longer have to stitch together multiple data, analytics, and BI solutions to get the business answers you need. With this unified SaaS solution, you'll have a single source of truth for all your data and analytics, enabling secure, democratized insights. And by leveraging this powerful, open, and scalable solution, you'll accelerate time to value through cost management, spend optimization, and making the most of your data investment. So just want to talk a little bit more about Microsoft Fabric, right? We already said that Fabric is this end-to-end analytics platform that brings together all the data and analytics tools that organization needs to go from the data lake to the business user, right? So one of the biggest differentiator here is, first, you might ask, how is it different from what I was talking before or what we had before, right? So one of the major differences, what we had before, it was a PaaS platform versus what we have right now is a SaaS platform. And the biggest differentiator here, or like one of my favorite features, is the one lake concept. Now with one lake, you know, you would have one source of truth for the entire tenant. So you don't have to spin up a separate storage or something. If you have tenant, you already have a one lake provisioned along with it. So as a user within your company, you would just be able to log in and straight away start accessing one lake. And uh, it is the foundation for migrating and modernizing existing analytics solution, whether this be data appliances or traditional data warehouses, right? And we can also talk about, what are the key scenarios that you would be facing with and how you would typically implement that using Fabric. I'll get to that in the coming slides. But one thing, a lot of my customers have been asking me is, like I'm someone who's completely new. Let's say I'm completely new to Azure or any of those platforms. How does Fabric enable me as a completely new customer? And the answer to that is, since Microsoft Fabric has a SaaS environment, it is easier to deploy an entire end-to-end analytics engine from the ground up at an accelerated pace. You don't have to wait for someone to, provision things up because it's a SaaS platform. You would straight away be able to spin it up in minutes rather than waiting for somebody else to do it for you, right? And with the solution's built-in security and governance capabilities, you can rest assured that your data and insights are being protected, right? Or I have some of my customers who are already existing Synapse customers. They are already using the data warehouse capabilities. So they're like, what does this mean for us? What does Fabric mean for us? So Microsoft Fabric is an evolution of Azure Synapse. You will still be able to enjoy the benefits and limitless scale of Synapse in an easier to use SaaS solution while adopting new capabilities that enhance your entire analytics approach. And with the addition of Power BI, you can help democratize that ability to uncover insights and create interactive reports across the organization and help everyone make more data-driven decisions in their everyday work, right? And if you are a Power BI customer, I mean, this is the most exciting part for you, right? This entire Fabric experience is centered around the Power BI portal in a way. I mean, it's now called the Fabric portal, but if you're familiar with Power BI, you're going to be familiar with Microsoft Fabric. So with Microsoft Fabric, you'll be able to access new and powerful data tools and services like Azure Synapse within the same user experience you already enjoy with Power BI. You can unify these tools with your disparate data sources in the same environment to establish a single source of truth for all data, driving the ability for everyone to uncover more accurate and consistent insights than before. And instead of having to worry about security concerns of a patchwork analytics estate, you can rest assured your data is protected with all this built-in security and governance capabilities. So wonderful capabilities, no matter whether you're completely new or already using one of those existing features, Fabric would be a great addition to have.
Hey, Jason, a question came in to chat while you were covering Fabric there. The question is, does Data Fabric have data integration capabilities? Is this possible? And if so, how does that work?
Yeah. So Fabric does have data integration capabilities, right? And what we are using behind the scenes is an evolution of Azure Data Factory. So if you're familiar with Azure Data Factory, I mean, you will be pretty familiar with the data integration capabilities within Fabric also.
Great. And that was the only question in about 10-minute warning.
Awesome. All right. Another question that I commonly get from my customers is, I mean, it's great. I mean, you have Microsoft Fabric and you have all this data engineering and integration capabilities, right? But how does it work with Fabric? Sorry, how does it work with Azure Databricks? And the answer to that is, first of all, thanks to the open, capabilities of OneLake, open source capabilities of OneLake, Databricks and Fabric still works very well together because, first of all, Azure Databricks can directly access the OneLake through the same ADLS APIs and SDKs, because behind the scenes, OneLake is still, ADLS, right? And if you already have existing Azure Data Lake services built through Databricks, those can be virtualized into OneLake using shortcuts. This is one of the most, like another one of my favorite capabilities within OneLake. You don't have to move your data or duplicate your data using OneLake. I mean, if you already have some data in ADLS, you can just virtualize that into OneLake using shortcuts. And it's not just existing ADLS that can be virtualized into OneLake. Even if you have data lying in other clouds, like if it's there in S3, you would just be able to virtualize it in OneLake with using shortcuts without moving the data. So you're avoiding, costly data replication and, data movement, all of that. Also, Delta Lake data directly lands in OneLake or is virtualized in through shortcuts, and this can be auto-discovered as tables, So you have this great capabilities. Once you have the data within OneLake in Fabric, at that point, you can use the compute of your choice. It could be Synapse, it could be Databricks, or, whatever you want. The option is up to you, and you get to choose it based on your specific use cases, the skills within your team, all of that. The capabilities that's out there, the cost that's out there, all of that. You can make an informed decision based on your choice. So. And quickly talking through some of those key analytic scenarios, right? Because we talked about Fabric, and I just want to quickly talk about no matter whether you're thinking about a lake house or a data warehouse, or you have data science scenarios or real-time analytic scenarios, Fabric lets you go through, satisfy any of those requirements. So let's just quickly go through those. So let's say you have a lakehouse scenario, right? So let's say you have data sources. It could be structured or unstructured. You can use pipelines and data flows to ingest that and bring it into your lakehouse, right? At the same time, if you have existing data that's in maybe Azure Data Lake or something, you can actually use shortcuts to virtualize that, bring it into Lakehouse, and again, do the transformations as required. And then you would be able to expose them using SQL endpoints or Power BI, right? And then you can serve it to your end users. Now, if you have a data warehousing kind of like a scenario, so same thing, if you have your data in, if you have new data that's structured or unstructured, use pipelines and data flows, bring it into your data warehouse. But let's say you already have data lying in another warehouse. For example, you might already be using Synapse today, or you might be having data in Snowflake for that matter. From there, you would be able to ingest it into the data warehouse using what we call as mounts. So mounts behind the scenes is they would be doing a low latency replication into the data warehouse. And from there, you can transform using procedures or something. And at that point, you can actually expose it using Power BI or SQL endpoints using your warehouse. Note that some of those features, around like Synapse, Snowflake, all of those using mounts, they are not there. Right now, we are in a public preview timeline right now, but we expect to have those features to, around GA. So now data science scenarios, right? So you might have data within your lakehouse or data warehouse. Again, you would be able to use notebooks to actually clean and prepare, and once this data is ingested, you can clean it, prepare it using notebook. You can store it into your lakehouse with the medallion structure. And after the data is cleaned and stored, machine learning models can be trained and tested directly on the lakehouse. So like the other analytic scenarios, business users can then analyze and visualize the data with Power BI using the see-through mode or SQL endpoints. Now, if it's a real-time analytic scenario, unlike the data science, lakehouse, and data warehouse analytic scenarios, streaming data can be ingested into the Microsoft Fabric in several ways to achieve real-time analytics. So one, users can leverage Event Hub or IoT Hub or pipelines, data flows, notebooks, or even open source products like Kafka, Logstash, and more. They can use any of those to actually ingest the data, right? And once ingested into Microsoft Fabric, streaming data can be stored in CustoDB and mirrored into the lakehouse. After the data has been stored, machine learning models can be trained and tested directly on the lakehouse with experiments. Like the other scenarios, business users can analyze and visualize the data with Power BI using the see-through mode or SQL endpoints. Data can also be exposed through KQL or notebooks using Spark. So you saw right now that, no matter what the analytic scenario is, lakehouse, data warehouse, real-time, machine learning, or data science, you would be able to use our end-to-end, SaaS platform, which is Fabric, and you would be able to satisfy your requirements. So this is what we're coming out with next. As of so if you want to test drive this would be the perfect time, because for the next 1 month or something, there you would be able to sign up for a trial and not be charged for any of the activities that you're performing for Fabric. I mean, the only time that capacity would be used is for your Power BI stuff, right? So if you're using Power BI, yeah, I mean, it would be using the capacity, but otherwise any of the other activities would not be using the capacity. So feel free to go ahead and sign up for the trial and test it out. Starting 8/1, that's when the pricing comes into the play. And, if you're using any of the Fabric capabilities, you'll be charged for it. So great time to be test driving Fabric. So with that said, I've kind of come to the end of the session. I see I've got 4 more minutes or 3 more minutes. And at this time, just want to check if there are any more questions on the same.
There were a few questions that were asked and answered in chat, on your behalf. So yeah, you won't have to address those. There is a question that had come in through the submission form, and I'll also acknowledge I missed a couple of the questions that had come in through submission forms. So Phil and Manoj will get to your questions in some course here. But one for you, Jason, and please keep this kind of time appropriate as we are getting short on time for you here. But Emily asked, can you explain the main benefits of Microsoft's intelligent data platform and how it simplifies data management for businesses?
Yeah, the answer to that is, first of all, you'll have this end-to-end data platform, right? I mean, no matter what capability that you need, it's there in one platform. So you don't have to worry about, trying to stitch together different analytics products. You don't have to worry about, the skills, because since it's part of the same platform, you'll have similar skills. And again, you would be able to bring in data from all those different data silos that we talked about, right? So you can see how it actually simplifies the process, all those complicated processes that you had, you would be able to simplify it with this and then serve up the insights. So in a way, it's talking about the first slide that we showed, right, around what are the different barriers in getting to the data and how we would be able to solve those issues with MIDP.
Excellent.
All right, if there are no more questions, we are at the end of time. So passing it over to you, man.
All right, sounds good. Let's get a nice virtual round of applause thanking Jason here for that.